She hit me. Right there. In front of everyone. But it wasn't her hand that hurt the most. It was her words. You're not even a real father. You just adopted them. Silence. The kind that swallows a room whole. Forks hovered midair. My youngest looked up from his plate, puzzled. I touched my cheek, not in anger, but with a strange calm. Then I smiled. Because that was the moment something shifted. Not a death of flesh, but of illusion. Of the version of her everyone accepted. Her comfort. Her mask. That was when the funeral began. It had all seemed so ordinary. A backyard barbecue. The smell of smoke rising in lazy curls. Kids shouting over a game. Laughter. The kind of day that looks like peace. But it wasn't. Not really. Not with her there. Rhea. My sister-in-law. Elena's older sister. Always loud. Always performing. Always entering every space like she was owed attention. She called it passion. I called it arrogance. For years, I held my tongue. For my wife. For the boys. For the sake of calm. Elena and I met a decade ago. She was already a mother, 2 little boys, barely out of diapers. Widowed, too young. I didn't just marry her. I chose them, too. I became their father. Not by blood, but by every choice I made. I was there. For everything. Skin knees. Homework battles. Nightmares. Bike rides. I was the one who stood beside them in the rain when their biological father's grave was too quiet, too cold. Rhea never saw that. Or maybe she just didn't care. She called me Plan B. She'd say it with a smirk, dressed like a joke. Elena would shrug. She doesn't mean it. That's just how she is. But I minded. I noticed. And I waited. The slap was loud. But the silence that followed? Deafening. She'd had a couple glasses of wine, just enough to speak the cruelty she usually saved for whispers. I don't think she meant for the kids to hear it. But they did. And that was her mistake. That was the moment I stopped tolerating her. I smiled through the weeks that followed. People confuse revenge with fury. But it's not rage, it's calculation. Precision. I had everything I needed. Rhea liked to talk. Brag. Overshare. And I listened. Quietly. She worked as an assistant dean at a prestigious private school. She wore that title like it was royalty. She'd constantly drop hints, pulling strings for parents, pushing paperwork for donations, bending rules for board members. Proud and careless. I started gathering what she left behind. Screenshots from family computers. Recordings of her wine-soaked boasts. That kid only got in because his dad owns a dealership. A text where she laughed about helping a married board member relax. Then one clean move. I scheduled a confidential meeting with the school board's chair. Under an alias, of course. I laid everything out. Neatly. With evidence. Dates. Quotes. Context. And I waited. 3 weeks later, she was suspended. Under official review. A week after that, her name hit the news. A quiet storm turned public. Emails. Photos. Texts. Scandal. Her Instagram disappeared. Her wine glass didn't. But it wasn't finished. It had to end face to face. I hosted another dinner. This time, small. Just family. She came late. Worn down. No makeup. Hiding behind sunglasses. She kept to herself, barely looked at the kids. Her voice was gone. Her posture wilted. When dessert came, I spoke. I've been thinking about what you said, I said evenly, looking right at her. About me not being a real father. She froze. Elena glanced between us. Tense. I never tried to replace their dad, I said. I just showed up when someone needed to. Every fever, every scraped knee, every panic in the middle of the night. That was me. You weren't there. But I was. And then I let the silence do the rest. She opened her mouth to speak. I lifted my hand. And since it came up, I reached into the drawer beside me and pulled out a thin stack of papers, copies of emails, recordings, and messages she'd sent over the years. I'd already given them to the board. The room went still. She stared, speechless, her hand beginning to shake. You should have stopped at the slap, Rhea, I said, but you didn't.
And now? You're out of a job.
There's an investigation. And the parents who once trusted you, they're suing. Elena barely whispered. You did this. I looked at her. Tom?
No.
She did this. I just made sure it didn't stay hidden. Rhea tried to stand, her words faltering before they could form. She left crying, without another word. No one said much about her after that. The kids didn't notice right away, only that she wasn't there anymore. But Elena noticed. She apologized again and again. I didn't know she'd go that far. I didn't know she hated you like that. But hate doesn't shout. It lingers, in the jokes people don't challenge, in the remarks people ignore. Rhea thought I'd take the slap quietly like I always had, because I'd been the quiet one. But silence isn't surrender. It's waiting. And I waited. Now my in-laws message me constantly. Can we talk? She's not herself. She's spiraling. Too far?
No.
It went exactly far enough. Because when she struck me in front of my sons, tried to humiliate me in their eyes, that slap became the start of her own undoing. 5 fingers and a falsehood. All I did was take the next step. That night, I tucked my sons into bed, like I always do. Kissed their foreheads. Checked the locks. Turned off the lights. They still call me Dad. Because I am. Blood is one thing, biology. But being a father? That's earned. And Rhea? Every time she passes a playground now, she'll remember. That world isn't hers anymore. I never had to shout. I just changed the rules. And I walked away with everything that mattered.